Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Psychological First Aid Workshop, a practical guide for immediate support. My name is Gabriella Gornitzky, and we are the Legal Pathway Society. First off, let's get into what a PFA is. Psychological First Aid, PFA, is a supportive intervention designed to help individuals during or immediately after a crisis. It focuses on providing immediate emotional and practical support to those affected by traumatic events. And PFA is not a formal therapy, but an approach to help stabilize and mitigate distress. And who is PFA for? PFA is for anybody affected by a crisis, including survivors of natural disasters, witnesses of traumatic events, first responders and healthcare workers, and family and friends of those directly impacted. PFA is also valuable for individuals providing support, including volunteers and community members.
Over our lifetimes, different crises can affect us or people around us. They can be natural disasters like floods and hurricanes, or war, accidents, or incidents of violence and crime. They can impact us as an individual, a family, or entire communities. In such events, people may lose their homes or their loved ones. They may be separated from their families, or they may be injured physically or emotionally. People may be overwhelmed with the problems they are facing, uncertain and anxious about what will happen next, sad for their losses, or even emotionally numb as they process what has happened. When a crisis occurs, everyone can be affected differently. Just like after a physical injury, providing quick first aid is an important step for recovery and preventing disability. Similarly, after a psychological trauma, swift care and support is very important for healing. Providing the right care and support during a time of suffering can make a big difference. This early support is called a psychological first aid. Everyone can learn how to provide psychological first aid, whether you're a field worker, volunteer, healthcare worker, or friend, or a community member. We can all make a difference. Let's talk about some fundamentals of psychological first aid. Psychological first aid is a humane, supportive response to a fellow human being who is suffering and who may need support. This is composed of providing practical care and support, assessing needs and concerns, listening if people want to talk, comforting if appropriate, and protecting people from further harm. Psychological first aid is not professional counseling, does not require a detailed recounting of the traumatic event, and is not about pressuring people to share their feelings. It is important to recognize that feeling sad, anxious, or overwhelmed is normal during a crisis. Different people may express their emotions in different ways. Some people may have mild reactions, while others can have more severe reactions. Also, the time it takes for people to start recovering may be different, whether it's days, weeks, or months. Importantly, not everyone going through a crisis will need or want support, so do not force help on people who do not want it, but make yourself easily available to those who do. Prior to beginning to offer a psychological first aid, it is important to know what crisis occurred, know the local culture and customs, and know what relevant resources are available for those in need. Provide support in a way that is culturally appropriate and dignified. Some people may only feel comfortable talking alone in privacy or talking to a person of the same gender. Be aware of appropriate cultural expectations. Ask permission before entering into someone's space and before asking any questions, so the person has a feeling of control and they know they can end the conversation whenever they want. And when interacting, use language that a person can understand. Remember that being a caring and attentive listener is often more important than any words you use. Listen first and talk second. Psychological first aid has 3 core steps: look, listen, and link. Look. First, check your surroundings to see if the area is safe, and see if you are able to have a conversation safely without harm to yourself or others. Also, take note of people who have immediate physical needs or people who are in acute mental distress. Both of these groups might need more assistance than you are able to give. Know your local partner agencies and emergency service and get help if needed. Listen. Be a good listener. Be patient and calm. Listen with care and empathy. Try not to interrupt or rush the person. Avoid asking details about what happened, since narrating their trauma may cause a person more distress. Acknowledge how the person is feeling and what struggles they're going through. You can say, "This must be difficult for you," or "I can only imagine how this must feel." Do not judge the person's actions or feelings. Do not suggest what they should have done, and do not question their actions at the time of crisis. Importantly, do not say that you understand, because you truly cannot understand how a person feels, but you can listen and show care. Respect their trust and don't share their stories without their permission. Link. Provide people with links for their basic needs, such as food or water, shelters or camps, commodities, or places where they can find new work. If they have specific needs, learn what those are and attempt to link them appropriately. Some of your work can also include getting people involved in solving their own problems. This gives a feeling of empowerment. Be honest and optimistic. However, do not give false hopes or wrong information. If you do not know an answer to something, just say, "I don't know," or "I don't know, but I'll try to find out for you." Encourage people to use positive coping behaviors. Ask them what works for them when they are in stressful situations. It might be resting or regaining their energy. It may be talking to loved ones. It may be praying and engaging in religious rituals. Or it might be getting involved in helping others around them. These positive coping activities can be very helpful. Such positive activities may also prevent the person from unhealthy coping mechanisms, like using drugs, smoking, neglecting self-care, or going into isolation. Some people may just need extra support. This can include children and adolescents who are separated from their caregivers, those with physical or mental health disabilities, pregnant or women with small children, elderly people, and those who are in marginalized groups of society. Try your best to identify relevant resources for these groups. Remember to know your own limitations. You may not be able to provide help to everyone or address every need. Try to find out what other efforts and programs are in place so that you do not feel alone and can get support from others. Be sure to take time for yourself to eat, sleep, recharge, and renew your own energy.
Now, after watching that video, let's get into PFA's 5 basic principles. First is going to be safety, ensuring physical and emotional security. Second is going to be calmness, helping individuals feel calm and grounded. Third will be connectedness, promoting social support and connection. Fourth will be self-efficacy, empowering individuals to regain control. And last but not least, hope, encouraging a sense of optimism about the future. Now, after watching that video and learning about PFA's 5 basic principles, what are the PFA objectives? They are to reduce initial distress caused by traumatic events, to foster short and long-term adaptive functioning and coping, to connect individuals to additional support and resources if needed, and finally, to encourage self-care and coping strategies. With the overview that you have already of what PFA is, it might give you an idea of what the strengths could be. It's a practical and easy approach that can be applied in various settings. It's evidence-informed and widely accepted by professionals. PFA is designed to culturally be sensitive and adaptable. And it's focused on helping without causing further harm. With that being said, let's get into the core actions. Contact and engagement. Initiating contact and building trust. Safety and comfort. Ensuring the individual feels safe. Stabilization. Reducing immediate distress. Information gathering. Understanding needs and concerns. Practical assistance. Providing practical support and information. We'll continue on the next page. Connecting with social supports, encouraging connections to family and friends and community. Information on coping, providing education on stress reactions and coping strategies. And linkage to collaborative services, referring to additional services and supports if needed.
In this video, I'll be talking about the 3 action principles of psychological first aid: look, listen, and link. The first action principle of look involves a number of different actions. The first one is to gather information about what has happened and is happening. If you're in a situation with many people, you need to find out who needs help. The next action is to explore safety and security risks. If anyone is unsafe, you need to address that first before going on with other PFA actions. Physical injuries. If you encounter someone who has physical injury, assess immediate and practical needs. Find out what the person in distress needs help with right now and here. And last, it's important to recognize what reactions the person is having to assess whether these are what we call common reactions or whether the person is displaying severe reactions. Some examples of common reactions to distress include physical reactions, such as shaking, sweating. Some people have stomach problems and feel nauseous. Some people have problems sleeping. Others feel an increased heart rate when they're in distress. Some people have difficulty breathing. And sometimes people feel they have no energy at all. Examples of behavioral symptoms of distress include withdrawal and isolation from other people, crying or screaming. Some people laugh when they're in distress. Others find it difficult to move, especially if they feel shock, while others find it difficult to keep still and may pace and walk around and not want to sit down. Sometimes people overeat or don't eat at all when they're in distress, and some people may show aggressive behavior if they're feeling a lot of anger. Another behavioral sign of distress is increased smoking or alcohol or drug use. Examples of emotional reactions are feeling shock, feeling fear, feeling anger or sadness, feeling anxiety, or not feeling any emotions at all. Some people also experience mood swings. They feel happy one moment and sad the next moment. And last, you may also feel quick irritation. Cognitive symptoms of distress refer to what happens in our mind. So, common cognitive symptoms of distress include poor concentration, feeling confused, having disorganized thoughts, perhaps forgetting things quickly, finding it difficult to make decisions, having dreams or nightmares, or what we call intrusive or involuntary thoughts. And last, there are also sometimes spiritual symptoms of distress. That includes perhaps feeling a sense of emptiness, perhaps feeling discouraged or losing hope, and generally just feeling negative about life. Some people may also doubt their faith, or feel anger at God, or perhaps feel a sense of alienation from other people, or a loss of connection from other people. It's important to remember that common reactions to distress are what we call normal reactions to abnormal events. However, you need to also recognize when someone is having a more severe reaction, because then you may need to make a referral and ensure the person gets more specialized help. Examples of severe reactions include if someone has been unable to sleep for many days and starts to feel confused or disorientated. Another severe reaction is if someone is unable to function normally and care for themselves or their family. So, for example, they stop practicing hygiene or cooking or eating. Another example of a severe reaction is when someone loses control over their behavior and they perhaps become unpredictable or destructive. Another severe reaction is if someone threatens to harm themselves or to harm others. Or if someone starts excessive and out of the ordinary use of drugs or alcohol. If you meet someone who's in distress that has a chronic health condition that needs specialized support, you also need to refer them for immediate help elsewhere. Or if they present symptoms of a mental health condition. Now I'm going to tell you a bit about the actions of the action principle listen. So, listening is more than hearing. Hearing is what we do with our ears, whereas listening is what we do with our entire body and being when we encounter another person. So, listen starts with how you introduce yourself. When you encounter someone in distress, it's calming for them that you introduce yourself in a good way and explain who you are and that you're there to help. It's also important to pay attention to the other person and listen actively. Active listening can be shown in both verbal and non-verbal ways. Verbal ways of showing that you're listening are sometimes repeating what the other person has said and checking for understanding, or saying, or I understand what you're saying. Non-verbal methods of showing that you're listening include facing the other person directly, having an open body posture, nodding when they talk, keeping eye contact. It also involves calming someone. There are many different methods you can use to calm someone in distress. A common one is to guide them through a breathing activity, where you ask them to follow your breath and take a few deep breaths with you so they can feel calm and centered and able to manage their situation. Listening also involves asking good questions. So asking questions for clarification, asking questions about the person's needs and concerns in this immediate moment. In that way, you can help someone to find solutions to their problems. The last action principle of link refers to helping the person in distress access information. When you go into a situation where you know you'll be providing PFA, it's good to anticipate what kinds of reactions you think people may have and come prepared with psychoeducation material. Psychoeducation helps a person understand the reactions they're having and can also give some tips on how they can manage their situation. Link also refers to connecting someone in distress with loved ones and social support. So be prepared to maybe lend someone your telephone so they can call their loved ones. Link also refers to tackling practical problems. Earlier we talked about asking questions about needs and concerns. Link refers to thinking more about how to tackle the different problems and then guiding the person into getting more help elsewhere. So the last part of Link refers to accessing services and other help from other people or institutions, and it can be informal help or formal help. It all depends on what the individual person needs. It can sometimes feel difficult to help someone who's in distress. Therefore, it's important for you as a helper to always practice self-care. When you've learned the different action principles, look, listen, and link, you can apply these to yourself also. You can look and recognize your own symptoms of distress. For some people, that means perhaps they start snapping at their family or not coping in the way that they usually do. And when you recognize your own signs and symptoms of distress, it's important that you listen to yourself and start thinking about the action of link. So if you're very stressed and you recognize that you're not handling things the way that you want to, stop, listen to yourself, and think about what you need to manage your situation better. There are also multiple ways that you can practice self-care. One way is to focus on simple and routine tasks if you feel overwhelmed. Another important method is, of course, peer support. Talk to friends or colleagues about how you're feeling. Also, remember to do exercise, rest and sleep well, eat and drink healthy, and avoid overuse of alcohol or substances. Do things that you enjoy and ask for help when you need it.
While assessing these core actions, you'll understand that PFA is flexible. It can be adapted to different cultures, languages, and settings. It's designed to meet the needs of various populations, including children, adults, and the elderly. And PFA can be provided in person, over the phone, or through other communication methods. With these methods, we'll learn that we'll have a flexible approach. PFA can be tailored to different types of crises, from natural disasters to personal trauma. Practitioners must be adaptable considering the specific needs and circumstances of each individual. And flexibility is key to providing effective support. And we'll also add that it is adaptable. It can be used in both individual and group settings, and the adaptability ensures that PFA remains relevant and effective across various situations. To access the materials for the certificate, please refer to these two links below. The first link will take you to the exact certificate with the NCTSN. All you have to do is create a free account, and then from there you look for the PFA, and then you can sign in. And for additional information, please refer to the World Health Organization. They also have a psychological first aid guide, and it's an excellent resource for understanding and applying PFA in various settings.